dive into the MonsterVerse. The MonsterVerse has turned out to be one of the most successful franchises in modern Hollywood. Built on the strength of the Godzilla and King Kong legacies, the MonsterVerse is an interconnected universe, following the mighty kaiju as they rampage their way through a world struggling to understand who these creatures are, where they come from, and whether they're friends or foes. The film series spans several decades and features an ever-revolving door of talented performers, from Oscar winners like Brie Larson to rising talent like Millie Bobby Brown to scene-stealing character actors like John C. Reilly and Charles Dance. So far, 5 movies have been produced in this franchise, each with strengths and weaknesses. Because of their nature, the MonsterVerse movies are usually campy and self-aware, especially in recent years. They embrace the action, but remain very much aware of the inherent silliness of their premises, and they're all the better for it. Still, some are undeniably better than others, at least in terms of sheer quality. This list will rank each of the 5 MonsterVerse movies based on their cohesiveness, writing, acting, visual effects, and importance within their ever-growing cinematic universe. Starting off number 5 is Godzilla, 2014. Gareth Edwards. Godzilla is more puzzling than ever a decade after its release. The film stars Aaron Taylor Johnson as Ford Brody, a Navy bomb expert who must travel to Japan to reunite with his estranged father. However, the two will soon become involved in a dangerous fight for survival when a massive creature known as Godzilla rises from the depths to combat 2 mysterious monsters wreaking havoc. Godzilla stands out among the MonsterVerse movies because of its lack of monsters. Fundamentally, it seems to misunderstand what makes a monster movie great. Trying to add depth to the story, Godzilla focuses on uninteresting human characters. But the result is an often boring and overly complicated narrative that doesn't feel either engaging or challenging. The titular monster has an absurdly low amount of screen time, being kept out of the action until halfway through the movie. Although its intentions to add complexity to its story are noble, Godzilla is ultimately a chore to sit through, especially compared to recent masterpieces like Godzilla -1, which includes a compelling and impactful human story without depriving audiences of seeing Godzilla in all his glory. Number 4. Godzilla, King of the Monsters, 2019. The 2019 sequel to Godzilla increased the monster action but without the human element to match. The film follows humanity's desperate attempts to survive the raging battle between the Titans, while the shadowy organization Monarch manipulates events from the shadows. Godzilla must once again rise to battle Rodan and his arch-enemy, the mighty King Ghidorah, with the help of the ethereal Mothra. King of the Monsters is a kaiju story that places all the importance on the monsters. The result is a film that goes all in on the action at the expense of the story and character development. Still, a game cast more than supports whatever little story is there for them, allowing the Titans to shine brightly. In that regard, Godzilla, King of the Monsters is quite great, a mighty spectacle for all those who love monster movies. Godzilla is once again somewhat sidelined, although he gets far more to do this time and is a more active participant in the plot. On the other hand, Rodan, Mothra, and especially King Ghidorah get plenty of moments to shine. One of the most badass dragons in cinema, King Ghidorah is particularly good here, exhibiting all the cruel rage that has made it an icon of monster movies. Number 3. Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, 2024. Sitting pretty in the middle of the ranking is the most recent entry into the MonsterVerse, Adam Wingard's Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. The film follows the titular characters, now allies after their devastating fight 3 years ago. They join forces to face a dangerous new threat. Settled in the Hollow Earth, Kong's existence is soon challenged when he encounters more of his species. Led by the evil Star King, the apes meant to invade the Earth aided by a monstrous Godzilla-like ice creature. Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire is by far the silliest and campiest of the bunch, and it's all the better for it. Any semblance of reality goes out the window, with the film instead embracing the inherent ridiculousness in its premise and having a ball with it. Like other recent entries in the MonsterVerse, the New Empire understands who the real stars are and lets them have fun. Godzilla and Kong fight, rampage, roar, and are even allowed to be cute. Their fight against the Stark King and Shimo is not as exciting as it could be, but it's thrilling enough to satisfy. Unlike Godzilla and Godzilla, King of the Monsters, the new empire actually makes audiences care about the human characters, if only a bit. Rebecca Hall and the always charming Dan Stevens are perfectly capable leads, while Brian Tyree Henry remains his best scene-stealing self. The plot is remarkably dumb, but when the action is this entertaining, one can easily forget and forgive the film's many shortcomings. Who knows what's next for Godzilla and Kong, but if it's even half as fun as the new empire, it'll be worth the wait. Number 2, Kong Skull Island, 2017. 2 years after the release of Godzilla, Kong Skull Island premiered to positive reviews and considerable box office success. An ensemble cast, including Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, and John C. Reilly, stars in this period piece set in the 1970s amidst the ongoing Vietnam War. The film follows a crew comprised of several soldiers, scientists, and a war photographer who venture into the uncharted Skull Island, where they encounter unbelievable dangers, including the massive gorilla Kong. Strictly speaking, Kong Skull Island is probably the best overall movie in the MonsterVerse. It's the most well-rounded, featuring solid acting, a strong story that balances classic adventure with thrilling monster action, mostly compelling characters. Riley's unhinged performance is particularly funny, and impressive visual effects. It doesn't do half as much with its setting, politically or socially, but it does attempt to address a few themes, from colonialism to American imperialism, and for that, it deserves some respect. However, Kong Skull Island is still very much a loud monster movie and doesn't forget to have fun and be spectacularly silly. After all, it features one of the most infamously dumb deaths in modern cinema. Still, the strengths far outweigh the weaknesses, resulting in an endlessly entertaining movie that packs quite a punch and does right by its simian protagonist. And finally, number 1 on the list, Godzilla vs. Kong, 2021. Godzilla vs. Kong is very obviously the film the MonsterVerse had always been building up to, and the thing it always wanted to be. Adam Wingard directs a large ensemble featuring the returning Kyle Chandler and Millie Bobby Brown, and new faces like Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Alexander Skarsgård, Isa Gonzalez, and Oscar nominee Demian Bichir. The plot sees Kong moved from Skull Island into the Hollow Earth, where a mysterious weapon lies that can seemingly stop Godzilla's future attacks. However, these reckless actions only succeed in pitting the two titans against each other. In short, Godzilla vs. Kong is everything a MonsterVerse movie should be. It has an interesting enough story that, while never compelling, it's still very much entertaining. As the title implies, the central conflict between Godzilla and Kong is more than enough to justify the film's existence. Indeed, Godzilla vs. Kong does its two iconic monsters justice, allowing them to beat the crap out of each other for our enjoyment. And boy, is it enjoyable. The human cast is surprisingly good, especially Hall as the most sympathetic character in any of these movies, and Bichir as a classic mustache-twirling villain. The final act battle between Godzilla, Kong, and the newly arrived Mechagodzilla is peak big-budget entertainment. Set in a neon-lit Hong Kong is the best sequence in the MonsterVerse, the crowning achievement of this cinematic universe in every possible way. Godzilla vs. Kong is pure monster excess,